What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. Today I wanted to cover the physics of the glide technique and some things that you can start to think about, apply to your own throws, and hopefully see some bigger distances. So over the past 10 years, I've been trying to develop my rotational shot put technique, and with a bunch of injuries and never really being able to find the timing, this is the first year that I've really been breaking things down. So this past weekend, I got the chance to ask Ryan Crouser, who already in his career has more throws over 22 meters in competition than anybody else in the history of ever, some things that he thinks about on his finish. Amazing finish, always staying on it just so long. Is there any drills that you liked that helped you with that, or just
stand throws? Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people just don't do a lot of stand throws, and then, or if they do, it's like the classic, like right here, just short finish.
Yeah.
So I try to take my stand, pretty much almost make a glider finish, back over the feet, like shot outside here, working through, and so I try to make my stand throw pull as long as possible, and then try and get as close to that in my full as I can.
And I found it really interesting that he said he tries to recreate a lot of glide feelings in his rotational throw. So whether you're a glider and just trying to understand the concepts, or a rotational thrower that was maybe never taught the glide concepts in the first place, I want to start to break some of those down and feel them myself so I can start to apply them to my own throw. So if there's one concept that I want you to understand by the end of the video, it's that the whole point of the glide is to land in good positions so that you can increase the length of the path that the ball travels on, so that you've got more time to accelerate it. So we've all seen the classic example of the sideways shuffle shot put throw, and you learn that in whatever, 6th grade or 8th grade or whenever you start learning shot put in school. And that's actually how everyone used to compete in shot put, and it wasn't until this guy,
another dedicated athlete who also pursues the golden link through 4 separate Olympics, is shot putter Parry O'Brien. He has developed a step-back approach to shot putting that revolutionizes his sport and remains, to this day, the preferred technique of virtually all who compete.
The old technique was facing sideways to the throwing area, Bruce, and you kind of hopped across the circle this way and threw the shot put, and it was strictly an arm event. And sort of trial by error, I moved the event around little by little to finally I was 180 degrees towards the back and back towards the throwing area. The reason being was that I was looking for an easier way to throw the shot put and still win and still give credible marks. So little by little, from this to this to this to this, until I finally ended up all the way around to the back of the circle.
he found a way to increase the length of the path that he can accelerate the ball by facing backwards. So picture this. Here's your typical shuffle finish. Now to increase the path that the ball travels on by rotating, now you've got all of this time before you get back to here to start accelerating the ball in the first place. So you've got some more time to accelerate it, and that's the whole point of the glide. So one important thing that I want you to keep in mind is throughout this video, as you see professional throwers, you're going to see them in some really deep leg positions, and that's super hard to do unless you're very strong and have been throwing for years. And you can see in my throws that I'm a lot taller when I'm trying to do these movements because I'm not comfortable with the throw. So in your own throws, don't worry about trying to get as low as some of these guys. Just start to understand some of the concepts and the feelings that it looks like they're trying to achieve. All right, so this is Ryan Crouser in 2009 when he used to glide. Versus now and his spin technique. So the important thing that I want to point out is that even 10 years ago, he was trying to achieve the same positions, and his glide is great to show the positions that I'm trying to explain. So notice here how wrapped up he is and where he's starting to catch the ball. And now 10 years later, with a completely different rotational technique, he's still wrapped up trying to catch the ball back in that same position. Now remember, he said this.
So I try to take my stand, pretty much almost make a glider finish, back over the feet, like shot outside here, working through, try and get as close to that in my full as I can.
So clearly his years of gliding, he was working on some good stuff that's now translating so well into his throw. And this is the movement that I really want to point out in Ryan's glide. Because you want to try to catch the ball back as far as possible, so you've got as long as possible to accelerate the ball. As he goes to the middle, it's this slight re-wrap to get the ball back even further. Now I'm not saying you need to re-wrap exactly like Ryan, but it's a good demonstration of where he's trying to get the re-wrap so that he can catch the ball back as far as possible. So now with this thought in mind, thinking about trying to catch the ball back as far as possible, and then keep it on a nice long path all the way around, I want to start to show you some other gliders. So this is Ulf Timmerman, and he actually threw over 23 meters with the glide. And there's a couple key positions that I want to point out in his throw. The first one is continuing with where he's catching the ball. Everything's facing backwards, and he's in a position that he's nice and loaded over his leg, and from this position can accelerate straight up to the finish. So this is a different angle, and again, look where he's catching the ball. It's far back over his leg, he's not opening up, and his weight is nice and balanced over top of his leg in the middle, so he can use that to drive everything up into the throw. Now this is him from the back. Again, catching the ball back nice and far, weight's nice and over top of his leg in the middle so he can drive up with that. So there's a lot of mechanics and body positions that will ultimately contribute to getting you into these good positions, and it's going to take thousands of throws and a lot of practice. But my objective today is to start to show you some positions so you know what you're looking for, and hopefully it helps you find the sensations and the feelings in the ring. So with that being said, the important thing to keep in mind is that as you travel backwards across the ring, you want to try to maintain that wrapped up longer pull, because if you're going backwards and you're opening up all the way anyway, then you might as well just stick with the shuffle. As I'm dropping back, I'm trying to make sure that the hips are going back pretty straight. The only thing that's happening is this foot's going back a bit, and that's starting to create some tension in my core. And then at the same time, I'm trying to re-wrap my off arm so that when I land, I can feel the shot put back here. And ideally what's gonna happen is you're gonna be going back at the same time, this leg's pulling back underneath you into a good, powerful position. So the next thing that I want to talk about is hand position and where you actually want to hold the shot put. So the first natural instinct a lot of people have when you pick up the shot put is you just want to start to grab it, and you think that it's just a put out of your hand. And if you try to do that with your fingers all spread out, then on the finish, it's going to come down to sometimes coming off of your fingers weird. So if you start to think about your first three fingers as kind of a unit, and that's your solid pressure point that you're going to be pushing and applying the force into the shot put. Trying to think about keeping those three fingers closer together and using all of them to apply force to the shot put will help it be more sturdy in your hand, but also help you get that final bit of snap at the very end of your throw that's going to help you accelerate the ball even faster. You'll see for a lot of rotational throwers, the ball's back further in their neck, but a lot of gliders, it's more underneath. And I like to think about it this way. For the glide and the shuffle, if you're going sideways and were to throw a punch as hard as you could, you'd want it to be right there behind your shoulder, generating that force. So having the ball in that similar position, that it's right there and you can get that stretch and snap the ball, is ultimately what you're looking for at the end of your throw. So this is German shot putter David Storl, and this is actually a world championship winning throw. Similar to Ryan, you can see David getting this slight re-wrap as he travels backwards across the circle. And that's so that when he lands, he can have the ball as far back as possible so he's got more time to accelerate it. So the best way to start to find this position in your full throw is by doing drills and really exaggerating positions, because once you're going full speed, you're more than likely going to naturally give up some of those positions. So by exaggerating them as much as you can with drills, you'll be as close to your ideal technique as possible when you're actually in a competition. So this is a couple drills that David does, and you can see him thinking about landing with that ball back and then starting to get his hips ahead first. And it's the rotation and extension of the legs that pull everything around into the throwing direction. So my whole objective with my own training and drills that I was working on today is just to start to feel some of these positions. As I look at professional throwers, I know that they've done it so many thousands of times that I don't expect myself to look perfectly like them on day one. I just really want to start to feel some of the concepts, start to think about catching the ball back earlier. And I can already see today that I wasn't getting my leg underneath me and I wasn't getting my upper body low enough. And there's a lot of things that I can do to improve my glide technique. And even then, I'm not trying to glide and make a perfect glide. I just want to get a more linear finish that's similar to a glide finish for my rotational throw, because it really is amazing how similar the positions are. If you look at the glide, you're coming back, trying to wrap, trying to land in a good position. And if you do the spin, same position, trying to be re-wrapped up, feet are trying to be down, trying to do the exact same things, and even finish the same way, reverse the same way. And I'm gonna need to continue to drill it, work on this glide finish, and start to feel these things over and over again to start to lock it in my muscle memory. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. Hopefully some of those glide concepts made sense to you if you're a glider. and there may be some things that you can start to apply to your own throw. And if you're a spinner, hopefully this can help you understand some things that Ryan Crouser is trying to achieve in his throw, and maybe some things that you can start to apply to your own spins. But whatever the case, I had a ton of fun making this video. It was really fun going back, thinking about the glide, and starting to get a better understanding of things that I want to try to work on in my full throw rotationally to try to mimic more like Crouser's throw. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.